What's up, everybody?
Hey, Nick. How are you?
Good. I kind of feel like a Barry's boot camp instructor. You guys know those virtual classes where they like hype everyone?
Let's get going. Peloton, baby.
Live your best life. But cool. Well, I think we got a jam-packed agenda today. We just got 30 minutes. We've got some awesome guests here. Lola from Shopify, Jason from Goriana. I'm from Affirm. We're going to spend maybe the first 4 or 5 minutes doing quick intros, kind of who we are, what we're about, talk a little bit about the partnership. But really the guts of what we want to get in today is all about driving conversion through Shop Pay installments. We've got some great merchant success stories here with Jason and Goriana, and then we'll really get into the details around kind of the customer experience and the partnership and the product at hand. So maybe with that, Lola, would you like to kick us off with a little bit about what you're up to and who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Lola Oyalayo Pearson. I head up UX for our money group at Shopify. So we work to try and solve the sort of structural problems around accepting payments and managing conversion and finance that our merchants face. And one of our products is Shopify Payments, which allows most merchants to start collecting money with lots of different payment types. And Shop Pay is a big feature of that, which is a great buyer solution for really quick and easy checkout. And super chuffed that we've recently gone full availability for US merchants with Shop Pay installments, which allows buyers to basically have a buy now, pay later solution. So I'm sure we'll go into the hows and the whys, but essentially as long as we're solving the problem that a retailer has, which is trying to figure out how to help their buyer and meet their buyer where they are, then we're essentially like moving in the right direction for Shopify.
Awesome. Thanks, Lola. Jason, would you like to introduce yourself and Goriana and kind of tell your story a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Sure. I'm Jason, the co-founder and CEO of Goriana Jewelry. Goriana and I are husband and wife team that started this on our apartment floor many years ago. Thought we were going to do it for about a year or so until we started some glamorous other business. But it turns out this is what we've been doing. So, we started out going door to door, selling specialty boutiques, then eventually obviously got online. And then the last 3 or 4 years have been pretty rapidly scaling out retail locations. We've got 19 retail locations throughout the California, Arizona, and New York. And we're about to enter some new markets next month next month in Texas and Chicago. So we run our entire business, both e-commerce and POS on Shopify. So we're obviously huge Shopify advocates and keeps things simple and clean. And my kids even, my 10-year-old daughter, pretty much it's like a routine every night. She gets on Shopify on her mobile app and asks me to guess how the stores are doing. So Shopify is like a big part of our life.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you still have the cha-ching on, Jason, for every sale?
No. I used to joke around that there should be like someone should build an app that you could plug in that has little horses that run around the track, see which one's leading. So, but we're based here in Laguna Beach, California. That's where our whole company's headquartered, and we're super appreciative of all the support that we've had with Shopify. And so much of it, I think, is just the fact that you're constantly evolving and helping the business grow and making it easier for us to do what we do. So
that's awesome. Well, I think probably a lot of participants know a lot about Shopify and then Goriana as well as a merchant on the platform. I thought I could maybe spend 1 or 2 minutes talking about Affirm because we're kind of new to the ecosystem in that sense. And so kind of starting at a high level, we like to say that Affirm tries to turn a world of financial limitations into one of possibilities. I'm trying to be more narrative-led in this, but basically for the last 9 years, Affirm has spent building an industry-leading buy now, pay later platform. We've partnered with tens of thousands of merchants, kind of from like newly minted entrepreneurs that Shopify works with, all the way up to kind of the large brands that we know and love, like Walmart, Peloton, Expedia. So like buy now, pay later is a thing now, but it really kind of wasn't a thing when we first started. It was really just a dream. And Max kind of had this dream that was built on honest finance. And so that's really a big driving mission statement for us. And so honest finance to Affirm really means that like we can do better for the consumer and for the merchant. And so If you see all of our products, we will always try to be transparent and over communicate kind of the purchase terms and the experience that you're going through. No fine print. I hate to say it. It's definitely one of those values that is printed on all our conference room floors, but we've really seen that we make business decisions based off that. So it's really, really proud to have that. And then also, we really believe that we don't want to charge late fees. Our business success is not built off of like earning revenue off of consumers in a bad place. We believe that if you treat your consumer with compassion and empathy, that will definitely come back tenfold to us. So really leading with that honest finance route. And that's why we're kind of really thrilled to partner with Shopify. When you think about Shopify's mission around like making commerce better for everyone, we're definitely trying to do that on the honest financial side as well. And so Lola, when you guys, I think it's like 18 months ago, we first started working together, and you guys pitched. No, I didn't have a beard back then. I think, but you guys pitched this vision of like a fully integrated, seamless, native pay later experience in the Shop Pay app, and like we were just so excited and so energized by that vision that we just kind of jumped on it, and that kind of takes us to where we are today. So it's been a fun journey for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, it's always been important to us that we're solving problems that merchants shouldn't have to think about, right? So like the consumer, the buyer experience was moving in that direction, and we recognized that we needed to make it something that our merchants could leverage. And the smartest way for us to do that, the easiest way for us to do that, was to just integrate it inside our existing Shopify payments solution. And so for merchants like Goriana, who've kind of got Shopify as their back office, it's kind of running most of the commerce across like both retail and online. It's super easy to kind of deploy the solution in the way that they want, and they don't have to think about tons of extra stuff on top. So it's super important to us to make it easier for merchants to respond to that consumer shift and what consumers and buyers are looking for from them.
Yeah. Awesome. And then Jason, as you think about the buy now, pay later space, obviously like Lola and I are in it every day, and it's what we eat and breathe. As you were thinking about that space and Goriana's kind of strategy around it, how did the Shopify Pay installments come into that? Was that something you're already thinking about, or because it was so seamless and so integrated, you're like, yeah, this is a no-brainer?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of both. We thought about it, but then, to Lola's point, like sometimes you think about these things and you're like, okay, but how complicated are they going to be to integrate, and how do we handle it? And we kind of can't handle it. So you don't really progress towards it, And for us, though, the reason, not just with the simplicity standpoint, but from a brand mission standpoint, one of our core operating values is inclusivity of everything, right? So we have this jewelry, we have this price point, and we always want it to be inclusive for anyone. Everyone's got different, it's all relative, right? So, and for us, particularly last year, we launched a higher end fine jewelry collection. So we've been doing fashion jewelry, and I don't know that it's been as much top of mind, because you're like, okay, your average, you're selling even sometimes as low as $40 bracelet. But again, I think it's just being mindful that maybe for someone that's that they want to put that on a payment, and then that fine jewelry, I think, really escalated it for us. We started selling 300 price point type stuff, and you're like, okay, wow, and you're getting into diamonds and things like that. So I started thinking, wow, it was like perfect timing for us, because we actually had delayed fine jewelry because of COVID. It was supposed to come out last spring, and it didn't come last fall, but it was a perfect timing, because again, it's allowing anyone to have the experience they want with Goriana and the jewelry, but to be able to to get and to put something into payments, I think really helps people get over sometimes that fear, and they're not overcommitting themselves maybe to something they shouldn't. So
absolutely.
And then, so you mentioned some awesome things around inclusivity and accessibility.
Yeah.
Obviously, the title of this LinkedIn Live is all around conversion, and like in the industry, like conversion is king, and everyone's trying to get people through the funnel as fast as possible.
Right.
It was a little bit different. You were like, give access to people to like have alternative payments if they want.
Yeah, it was more stemmed from that, right? I mean, and to your point, yeah, you're always thinking about conversion, and Shop Pay to begin with was like, wow, okay. I mean, how it's so easy, right? Like we always joke around that sometimes we get customer care tickets because people are, you look and they're like, I have to change my address because you can check out so quick, right? For me, it's like it's the easiest thing I've ever seen. So that was great. I think, yeah, but I think when you look at getting in, and actually Affirm, it was partly like we could then get another conversion, but I think it was more driven off of, let's make this an inclusive process for someone that maybe normally would be like, hey, I want to get a birthday gift, and and I'm stretched. And I think it's just being mindful, right? I think COVID really escalated that too, because it gave us the opportunity to step back and kind of be a little more reflective of everybody's in different situations, and is affected differently. And I think that we want our brand to always have something for everyone. And that inclusivity is like a really, really, like I said, it's a large ethos that we run through.
And it's just pretty stuff, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, what always does help that it's pretty, right? And then you think about gifting, right? I mean, gifting is a big area too, right? Like we've got, I think it's like over 20% of our Google Analytics visitors are men. So you kind of, which is kind of surprising. And we see those upticks during Valentine's Day and Mother's Day and holiday. And again, I think it's just being mindful, for Goriana and I, again, we started this business on our apartment floor, like dirt broke, I've had my electricity shut off, and I was driving around a car with no car insurance and ran out of gas a couple of times. So it's like just being in that mindset, I think, has always been in the forefront of us of being mindful of people and making sure that you're creating something that they can go, wow, this is beautiful and it's amazing, but I can also interact with it.
Yeah. So. And I think just to pick up on that point of inclusivity, I think from a merchant's perspective, what you guys are doing is essentially trying to reflect to your buyers that you care about them.
Right.
And it may seem like a really objective, super cold, hard business thing, but even something as simple as thinking about like, what options will our buyers have at checkout? That's actually demonstrating care. Like, do I have a variety of payment methods that my buyers are going to trust, to feel like they feel safe with, and therefore want to transact and check out with? And that's a principle with Shop Pay. We know that buyers recognize it. It's familiar. You have the Shop app that you can track with. And so like integrating the installments element and working with the firm to kind of make that happen, it felt like part of that story of saying, hey, we want this to feel familiar and safe. We don't want it to feel risky. And like in that conversion story, it, also happens to, we've seen a quarter of merchants who are on it, seen their average order volume actually goes up by 50%. And a 28% decrease in checkout abandonment, right? So why are people not abandoning? Because they see something they trust. They see something they can use. They see something that works for them. And so that's a key part of also problem solving, is what are the reasons why people who want to buy from you can't buy from you? And if this is one of them, let's make that less of a problem.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, sometimes I don't know if you guys have ever experienced where I'll be looking for something specifically that's maybe like an old running shoe that's out of stock, and you start weeding down and you start getting on these really small little websites that you've never heard of. And, sometimes you get to the checkout, I'm like, where am I actually, where's this actually coming from? Like, what is actually going on here? And so I think it's so true what you're saying. I mean, because another one of our huge ethos, right, is it's the experience and having that full customer service experience. Like we have what we call happiness guarantee, where it's, it is really derived off of that kind of truly that Nordstrom model, where it's like no questions asked, like we're going to take care of you. We're going to make this really easy for you. And so I think that it starts at that checkout, right? It starts with, especially first-time buyers that are online, right? They maybe don't have that same experience at a store where a person is walking them through and kind of easing them through the whole story. They have to get that, virtually. So I think that when they get to checkout, we want to have that be a seamless experience where they feel safe and comfortable, and just knowing like even that, it's shipping. Like I know you guys, I'm sure, have been at sites and you're like, well, how long is the shipping going to take? And what does, sometimes I clicked on something recently and I paid overnight, and then I got an email that it was actually going to be, product was going to be prepared 10 days later, and then it was going to be overnight. And it was like, whoa, okay, maybe I would have done overnight, right? And I had to switch the address. But it's just having that lifeline of communication. And I think giving people options is really critical. We all operate differently. Some of us on different phones, some of us prefer different payment methods. And I think the more that you can offer, the better. So
100%.
And Lola had mentioned a couple of the business value metrics that Shopify, Shop Pay Installments is driving kind of across the board. I know Jason Goriana has been an early adopter of Shop Pay Installments back in October. You guys are with us from the very beginning, which is awesome. Yeah. Kind of fast forward to where you guys are today. Any sense of like how those users interact with your store in terms of like LTV, conversion, increase in AOV? Like what are the stuff that you guys are really tracking?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, for me, right, like Shop Pay is continuing to obviously increase, right? As a percentage of transaction, it's over 25% now total. For me, it's mind blowing. It's not 100%. Right? I mean, no offense to the other portions of payment that are out there, but again, I mean, for me, the sites I interact with as a consumer outside of Goriana, it's where I go. So it's continuing to increase. We only anticipate that increasing more, right? Because we're getting more, as we open more new stores and more new customers are coming in, and online more new customers are coming in. I just anticipate that getting higher and higher. And I know that as Shopify continues to partner and find these other ways to continue to evolve it as a payment system. So that's tremendous. And then when you think about shop installments right now is about 4 or 5% of that. And we're really seeing a big, to your point, an uptick, over a 25% uptick in AOV. And I think that again comes back down to like, someone may say, hey, look, I'm going to buy, something for myself, or maybe it's a gift and I have a budget of X. And then being able to put it in installments, I think certainly adds that incremental value. And for us, we've got triple digit checkouts. So when I'm talking about a lift of 25% on AOV, it's pretty significant dollar wise. And I think that I only anticipate getting higher and higher. And I think we'll even see more again spikes of it in those kind of gifting seasons that we see. So.
And I think the other thing that really speaks to me, like the emotional side. So I like jewelry, but I love this story sometimes we have with merchants like yourself, Jason, and others, where like there is love in the thing that you're selling. There's almost like, your buyers aren't, it's not like, I just want to buy the latest fad thing. It's like, this is crafted.
Yeah.
And so you kind of want to meet your buyer where they are. Like they want to own this piece and you want to make sure that they own it. And so that transaction actually is quite meaningful, right? Like I get it. I want to invest in this merchant. I want to support what they're doing.
Yeah, 100%. I think sometimes we sometimes feel guilty because we don't have, sometimes you see a lot of business out there, especially in the direct to consumer space, and they have these really driven purposes, disrupt the industry, and we're trying to reinvent things, and we are the new this, and there's a lot of big pitch. And sometimes we feel guilty because we're like, well, we really just want to create happiness. I mean, it sounds super simple, but we just want to bring a little spark of joy to people. Mm-hmm. And jewelry certainly does that, right? It's an emotional thing and people are attached to it. So we stay really simple with that. And we're also even not one of these people, brands that are forcing like, we're the newest, coolest trends and you've got to have our jewelry. It's not. We respect that there's thousands of people out there, brands out there that create amazing jewelry product. And we respect all that. You can have that affinity for others. But for us, it's more about kind of packaging it all as an easy place for people to go and get that experience and know they're going to get a consistency with it. They're going to get a consistency of some great designs, great quality, great customer service, and the process of interacting, right? So the process of interacting at a store or on the website needs to be smooth. It's not going to be perfect. We operate our company from a place of always looking at what can we improve. And I mean, if we don't have things to improve, then we're not doing our job. So, and the consumer changes too, right? So the needs of consumers change. So you have to be sensitive to that as well as you continue to progress.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. And Jason, you had mentioned consistency of the consumer experience, which Lola, you had touched a little bit upon as well. So like with Shop Pay at 25% share of cart, I was doing some reading about Shop Pay on the Saturday night, like as one does. And I read somewhere that like Shop Pay has a higher share of cart than all 4 major consumer digital wallets combined or something on the Shop Pay platform, which is like just like mind blowing.
Right.
And so Lola, as you think about like the vision for Shop Pay is just like amazing. And congratulations on the Google partnership and the Facebook and Instagram and like opening up the network is just amazing. How did you think about like the pay later aspect of it? Because you guys are doing so many things. What was kind of the thinking around like now's the time to go all in on pay later?
It's just that so we talk about Shopify, we're merchant centered, right? So we're trying to say, what are those structural barriers to entrepreneurship? How do we knock them down so that you, the merchant, can focus on what is the value you're trying to bring to the world, and you're not trying to somehow become a web developer and or a lawyer or a fulfillment specialist. So we try and like tackle different problems from different angles. Where Shop Pay I think comes into its own is we've realized that here we have a really important bridge to that buyer experience. So as a merchant, there's the thing you want to do. And then there's this question of how do people get to know you? How do they trust you? How do they build a relationship? How do we respond to the reality of commerce today, which is we're all kind of suckers for convenience, right? We all want the latest information. We want it to be reliable, fast, quick, and easy. So ShopPay has just proven itself to be the vehicle that we think provides that really strong, powerful bridge to the buyer. At the same time, it still gives the merchant a ton of autonomy, right? You know, as a merchant, you still own your own brand, your own store. You have a bunch of choices in there. And then with the buy now, pay later, it was essentially more of that. We're responding to what we're seeing with buyers. This is something they're asking for. This was an uptick. So we're like, how do we bring that to our merchants? Do we set up something completely brand new and independent that they have to set up from scratch and reconfigure and figure out? Or do we actually like roll it into this existing vehicle that we have that works really well? And that kind of gave us two key benefits from a user experience perspective. One, it's really easy for a merchant to onboard. So they don't have to do anything special. You know, it's kind of part of Shopify payments. So you get that. You get Shop Pay, you get Shopify Pay installments. The other thing is from a buyer's perspective, it's the same experience as a purchaser. So I've used installments to buy this product. I can track it in the Shop app. I can see what's coming up. And so it doesn't create any kind of weird friction for either the merchant or the buyer. And that therefore was like the thing we had to make work. And I think partnering with Affirm, because you kind of have this scenario where there are always many options, but you want to partner with companies that, like you said at the beginning, it's like the value bit isn't a question. It's like we're kind of have the same focus on the merchant and the outcome for the merchant and the buyer experience. Then all the kind of little decisions you need to make, you know, kind of bringing software giants together and meshing two companies and making it all look really easy and simple on the surface. It's no small feat, but it's a lot easier when actually you're working with a partner where the question of why are you doing this isn't something that comes up. It's just how are we going to keep knocking down each thing that we come across in order to kind of really focus on that North Star experience. And I think we nailed it for the US. And so hopefully we can continue long into the future to do more and more together.
Yeah, I saw the lead PM on the Shopify side. He says, this is a marriage. This is a long-term relationship. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think that's also really good for our merchants. It's like one of the things that when I joined Shopify 15 months ago that I personally value about the company is we really care about the ecosystem element, right? So what Shopify is trying to do is to make entrepreneurship easier. We're not going to do that by trying to be the front door, the middle door, and the back door to absolutely everything for everyone. What we can do is we can effectively partner, create an ecosystem, make it more accessible for merchants to find the solutions that they need through Shopify. So their management experience is in one place, but the actual solutions that they can benefit from are extremely diverse and varied. And we enable service companies as well as merchant and buyer experiences to kind of thrive in that Shopify ecosystem. And it's hugely important to us that value continues so that where we can kind of connect with an Affirm, we're doing that. And then we're creating the sort of the improvements that Jason and Goriana are seeing on, you know, their bottom line. So it's kind of like this virtuous cycle of, you know, enabling as opposed to trying to just own and squat in a space.
And that resonates with me tremendously because, I mean, again, even though we've been doing this for a while, you know, we've grown a lot over the years. We still operate like we consider ourselves a small family-run business. So to hear you talk about those brand ethos for yourself with Shopify about really helping entrepreneurs, like that strikes a big chord for us because it's not just about, hey, how does this help our business? It's just knowing it's helping other small businesses and entrepreneurs that are budding out there is so incredibly just inspiring, really, because it's hard, right? And so, and I think the other 2 points you made were so true too about it being easy for our end, but that second point about it being simple for the consumer and not creating like the worry when you start coming out with all these different ideas of different ways that someone could check out is you're creating too many choices for them and it's too many avenues and it's too much. So having Affirm be a part of it, integrated in it, I think was a great integration and a great marriage, so to speak.
Absolutely.
So I know we just got 4 or 5 minutes here left. And so I think one of the great things about like being a visionary entrepreneur and user experience, we get to have kind of one foot in the here and now. And so we talked a lot about SPI and where we are today, but also we get to have 1 foot in the future. And so maybe just to finish off, Jason and Lola, would like to ask you guys kind of like, what are you excited about in the future? Just in terms of your partnership with Shopify, as Shop Pay installments is a part of that, as we drive towards conversion coming out of the pandemic. Like what gets you jacked up in the morning and bullish on the future?
Jason, you go first.
All right. Well, I mean, for me, my day starts and ends every day with just thinking about retail, right? I love retail. And I remember when we started retail, we were on a different POS we had already moved to Shopify as an e-com platform, but we were waiting for Shopify to do multi-store POS. So it was a big, exciting thing when we were able to integrate it all. I love retail. I love the fact that we can interact with consumers. And then the challenge of how do you bring your online experience to the best of your ability of what your retail experience can be. But being able to open these stores as we are and get our teeth sunk into communities and really have that experience be at the forefront of what we're doing, that's what excites me. It's also, I can say, very comforting to know that we're partnered with someone like Shopify, where we know, it's giving me so much anxiety. You get on a platform and you're like, oh, this is going to age out. And it's so comforting to know that vision I have of retail and continuing to grow it and continue to expand our brand awareness and interact with communities, that we've got the support of Shopify behind us to constantly, know that we're going to be supported and we can scale that, and also continue not just to scale new stores, but take the technology that's new and roll it out retroactively. It just makes me feel even more bullish about the whole process. So
I love that. Yeah, for me, it's it's a couple of things. So like the short term is we're seeing really great data in Shopify payments installments. So the conversion rate's been high. I think it's 1.72 times higher conversion rate with Shopify payments installments. And as the kind of economies reopen and everyone gets back to like a post-pandemic world, it's not quite back to normal, but back to something different and more accessible. I think we're really interested in just enabling more merchants to make the most of that, right? Like, so how are you as a merchant making the most of Shopify to make sure all of your conversion moments work really well, right? How do you tell that story up front? How do you tell that story in your products? And then how do you tell that story at checkout? So we're trying to roll this out with as much information, comms, and support for merchants as possible. We still have and I know you know this intimately, Nick, but we've got a lot of work to do still, right? So we're still working on what are those kinks in the system? Where are those edge cases? Where are those places where it's still a little bit harder than it should be? And how do we make that even easier, like every single day, even easier, even more accessible for more merchants? I'm also just excited about we've done this GA for the US right now, but Shopify is not a US only company, and our merchants and their buyers are not in one country. So there's a kind of possibility of sort of enabling this on a more global scale that comes with a bunch of really big, hard software challenges, but they don't put us off. That's the work we've got to do over the next couple of years. And I'm hoping that the positive trends that we're seeing just keep kind of coming through with every step we take towards allowing more merchants and buyers to access this feature.
Yeah, and to add to that, I would love to see the continued expansion of globalization of commerce, right? The pandemic, as bad as it was the first time that we as a world all kind of experienced the same thing and went through it together. And we, it's just kind of reiteration of the fact that we're one organism, right, as Earth. And I think that just if we could start to continue to focus more on bridging commerce as well and creating interactions and not having that be barriered by currency would be a huge step. And I look forward to that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, love that. As we say here, we're in the second inning of a 9-inning game. We're stoked to continue to play and work on some international strategies and supporting all cart sizes to deliver even more value to merchants and our consumers. So I think we're at time here. I'm getting the hook, but I think there's a bunch of comments in the thread. So we're going to follow up post this session and get back to everyone. Thank you so much for your time, Jason, Lola. Great catching up, and hope to see you soon.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks so much, Nick. It was great chatting. Love to hear you speak, Lola.
Thank you. Thanks
right.
for having us.
Catch everyone. Bye now.
Bye.